type of educational programs at different sites. We consider Museum of the Waxhaw as sort of like our home base for doing living history and these types of educational programs. And today, again, light powder demonstration. During the American Revolution, which is the time period that we interpret, you had militiamen and you also had Continental soldiers fighting against who? Here in South Carolina and North Carolina, the Waxhaws? Yes, the British during the American Revolution. American Revolution was between what year and what year? When the American Revolution began? Everyone likes to say 1776, right? That's when we signed the Declaration of Independence. That was our political declaration of independence. But fighting for the American Revolution actually began 15 months earlier in the year 1775, right? The shot heard round the world at a colony called Massachusetts. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Yes. April 19th, 1775, shot heard round the world, Lexington and Concord. That marks the official beginning of the American Revolutionary War. For all intents and purposes, most of the fighting for the American Revolution, with the exception of what was known as the Snow Campaign and the Battle of Sullivan's Island, that took place, Snow Campaign in 1775, Battle of Sullivan's Island, 1776, both in South Carolina. For all intents and purposes, fighting is taking place where? Anybody want to take a guess? In the north, but where in the north? Which colonies? Certain states by this time. New York is one. Pennsylvania is another. Massachusetts, you said New Jersey. New Jersey was a very, very important state where battles, skirmishes, fights were done during the American Revolutionary War, the first phase. In fact, during the American Revolution, there were more battles, skirmishes, fights, and engagements that took place in New Jersey than all the other colonies. You know which state ranks second? You'd be surprised. It's actually the state of South Carolina. South Carolina, right? And the reason why is because during the first phase of the American Revolution between 1775 and 1778, all the battle action took place up there. No one decisive victory could be made by the British or the Americans. So the war essentially came to a stalemate. The British devised a secondary strategy. It's called the Southern Strategy. The strategy was this: sail south, capture the weakest link of the 13 British colonies that decided to declare their independence. And that state was what? Georgia. Georgia was the weak link, right? It had a large pocket of loyalists in their back country. Yes, there were patriots, but for all intents and purposes, Georgia was the weakest link. All right, the British capture Savannah, Port of Savannah, in December of 1778. They used Savannah as a base of operations to conduct raids into the low country of South Carolina. Between 1779 and 1780, there is back and forth fighting that takes place. And then on May 12, 1780, after a month-long siege, the British capture Charlestown, the New York City of the South, right? That was their main objective. They thought that after Charlestown would fall, then South Carolina would fall. Well, they were wrong. They were wrong. And the reason why they were wrong is because all the boys in the backcountry came to the defense of South Carolina and North Carolina, for all intents and purposes, the South, because of a battle that took place here in the Waxhaw region. It was known as the Battle of the Waxhaws. Took place May 29, 1780. It was also known as Buford's defeat. In fact, here recently, we did a battle reenactment of the Battle of the Waxhaws down in Lancaster County, South Carolina. And we had a really nice special event here at the Museum of the Waxhaws, interpreting that battle. It was because of that battle that really galvanized all the Ulster Scot communities in South Carolina and North Carolina to come together to rally in defense of South Carolina and North Carolina. All right? So, And by rallying defense, I'm talking about all the continental armies of the South had been captured or defeated. May 20, effective as of May 29, 1780. All right? So it was up to the local militias, in which we represent the local militias, to come to the support, defense, and aid of the cause for freedom and independence. So we are dressed as militiamen. All right? We have on hunting frocks, summer, of course. And then, of course, what we bring to the fight is our own clothing. We do not have uniforms, per se. So everything that we bring to the fight is what we bring from home, and that includes our firearms. Now, during the American Revolution, militiamen in the backcountry used a combination of different types of firearms. Some may have used smooth bores that were used for hunting purposes. Others used smooth bores that may have been military, that they had either captured or acquired during the Cherokee War of 1760, or during the French and Indian Wars, in which they had kept those firearms after that engagement for defense on the frontier. And then, of course, even before the outbreak of the war, the Patriot forces were seizing arsenals in each state. So those would have been distributed to the local militia companies. And then, of course, there were some militiamen, in fact, a lot of them, brought their own hunting rifles, which they used for hunting, for defense. And the hunting rifle was essentially the weapon of choice at a battle that took place October 7th, 1780, known as the Battle of Kings Mountain. Has anybody been to Kings Mountain National Military Park? Excellent site. There's a great interpretation display there in the museum that talks about the differences between the smoothbore musket and a rifled weapon. All right. So this, for example, this is known as a carbine. This is a carbine. All right, which is basically a cut down version of a British brown bess. Do we have a, yes, this gentleman right here has a British brown bess. The British brown bess, right here, you have a lock, here, stock, here, and a barrel. So, lock, stock, and barrel. You'd have all three in order to have a working firearm, right? You've heard the expression, lock, stock, and barrel? Yep, we got it. That means you have the whole kit and caboodle. Right here. This part of the lock, this part right here is called the cock. Has three different positions. That is half cock position. Notice I'm hanging it on my finger, like that. What is happening? Absolutely nothing, because you don't want to go off that cock. That's where that expression comes from, right?
Your flint dropped down there.
Yes, thank you. So, and of course, as this gentleman pointed out, this is the flint. This is where the magic happens. This is what starts the ignition process for firing the weapon. The other parts of the lock, you have the cock here. This thing that swivels back and forth, that's known as the frizzen or the steel. This extended portion right here that comes out, that's known as the pan. And at the very base of the pan, there's a tiny little hole that's drilled into the barrel that's known as the vent. The vent, right? Some people refer to it also as the vent hole, but it is the vent. So the way that this works, how you fire one of these, smooth bores. If you reach into your cartridge box, you would have had a pre-made cartridge. You would have had a ball at the very base of the cartridge, always smaller than the diameter of the bore of the musket. In this case, this is a 75 caliber bore. So a 69 caliber ball would be typical, but you can fit up to 72 caliber ball safely, right? So you have the ball, and then on top of that, black powder. You tear open the head of the cartridge, you pour a small amount of black powder into the pan, and then you snap the frizzen on top of the black powder. This is known as your prime. It also keeps your powder dry, it keeps it secure. Cast about your musket, take the rest of the contents of the paper cartridge, dump it down, black powder first, and then the ball. Take out your rammer, keep the charge, make sure it's secured at the breech. Go back to the shoulder. giving 3 commands: make ready, go from half cock to full cock, take aim, and then fire. El Bumo. Or you hope El Bumo, right? These were notorious for misfiring back during the American Revolution, and they are notorious for misfiring today when we do our battle reenactments and demonstrations. And that's the reason why is right here at the ignition source. Sometimes you might have either a dull or a dull frizzen or a frizzen that has a bunch of debris or black powder on the face of it. You have to wipe it off so you get a spark. So one type of misfire that's common is failure to spark. Another type of common misfire is something that's called a flash in the pan. Remember that expression? Yep, it was nothing but a flash in the pan. That is where you get the ignition, you get the spark here, the spark drops into the pan, there's this big whoosh that happens there at the ignition source, but the flame from that ignition source does not go through the hole, the vent, and ignite the black powder. So you have all show here, but no go there, right? And that is very common today. So we also have, in addition to the smoothbores, we have rifled weapons. What's the difference between a smoothbore and rifle? The rifling on the inside of the barrel, right? It's the furrows and the grooves inside the barrel that are manufactured that give that ball accuracy. The ball comes out, it spins as it's coming out of the barrel, whereas here, when you're firing it, the ball is rattling as it's going down the barrel, and then when it hits on the way out, it's going to travel at a slight arc, right? So with this, not terribly accurate. I mean, you can fire, the range on these is about 100 yards, but the effective range, that's your ability to hit a man-sized target within a certain range, is about 50 yards. 50 yards. Whereas with a rifle, with their rifling on the inside of the barrel, because that ball is flying out and it's spinning as it's coming out, it's going to spin out true, straight, and at a greater velocity. So the range on these, on a rifled weapon, is 300 yards. You know what the effective range on these are? On a clear day, in an open field, no wind, you know your rifle pretty well, the effective range is 300 yards. All right? Very, very effective. Very, very deadly. Right? So, awesome weapon to use. Awesome weapon to use. It has a different priming, loading, but the firing procedure is essentially the same. In order to load, prime, and fire one of these, the first thing that you would need to do is you would need to reach into your bag, get out a ball and a patch. You don't have to simulate it. You would get that patch, which would have been grease, a little bit of bear grease typically, would have put the patch on top of that. Then you take the ball, put it on top of the patch, and then you get a ball starter to ram it down. And then you take out your ramming stick and you force that ball and patch all the way down to the breech. All right? That takes some time and effort to do, right? So that's important because with one of these, the smoothbore, you can prime, load, and fire one of these between 3 to 4 times a minute. It was expected that you could prime, load, and fire one of these every 15 seconds. Whereas with your rifle, it takes about a minute. All right? So that is the advantage of your military musket and smoothbore as opposed to your rifle. Right? So after you have loaded it, I'm sorry, one thing I forgot to mention was you have to put the powder down first, right? So you would take out your powder horn, pre-measured amount of black powder, put it down, and then you put the ball and the patch on top of that all the way down. My apologies for that. Then you would prime it. Then you would go to the half cock here. You would take out the powder horn, usually a smaller type of powder horn that has a finer granulated type of priming powder, and put it right there in the pan. Snap the frizzen on top. Same type of operation. Go back to the shoulder, make ready, take aim, fire. Right? So, with that long explanation in mind, today we're going to do a black powder demonstration. Who wants to see that? I'm not very impressed with the crowd reaction. You guys, I don't think they really want to see it. You guys, think maybe we should just go back to the tent? Do y'all really want to see a black powder demonstration? All right, good. All right, so what we're going to do, since I need to work on this lock a little bit, I'm going to let these guys do that. I'll call the commands. And what we're going to do is we're going to safely fire in the direction of the woods that way. All right? Now, when we're firing these, we are not using any live balls, no live rounds whatsoever. It's just black powder. Does anybody here have any hearing aids or hearing aid protection? Okay, good. Because if you do, then you might want to turn them down a little bit now. Now, is anybody scared of loud noises or doesn't like loud noises? All right, if you do not like loud noises, when you hear me say, make ready, cover your ears just like that. You got it? All right. So I'm going to call a couple commands to turn these guys around and have them go to the shoulder. I say shoulder fire lock, that's what they're going to do. 3 commands, make ready, take aim, and fire. Now actually, I might need some help with that last command. So after I say make ready and everyone has their fire locks in the correct position, I'm going to give y'all the signal to everyone at the same time yell fire. You got it?
Got it.
You got to hear it. You got to yell this loudly because these guys are deaf as a post. All right? We're all kind of old except this guy. All right? So, all right. We'll go ahead and start. And again, we just ask that y'all stay, there. We'll let you know when it's safe that you can come forward with any questions. All right. Detail. Attention. Shoulder, fire lock. Right about, face. Rhino. So what they're doing now is they're reaching into their cartridge boxes, taking out their cartridges. They're biting off the head of the cartridge. They're priming the pan like that, taking the prison, locking down, and then they're dumping the powder down. Again, no balls whatsoever. And now they're going back to the shoulder. So now they are primed and meditated. Are they in the woods? No, they're in the woods. Hey folks? Hey folks! Hey Tom, you mind just scoot over a little bit? We're about to do a black powder demonstration. Detail! Make ready! Take aim! And fire! You guys got enough for 2 more? Run and load! We're going to do it 2 more times for you. Anybody not go off?
Yeah.
Did you dump? All right. I trust you.